Today is February 17th, 2021. We're holding this meeting via Zoom. The members of the Administrative Land Use Authority Board are, I'm Scarlett Bankhead, I'm the Administrative Services Director. We have Max Pierce, our City Engineer, and we have Rob Stapley, our Public Works Director. We also have several staff members. We have Diane Campbell, our land use staff member. We have Ryan Snow, our city manager, and we have April Fredrickson on Zoom with us she does code compliance and stormwater and zoning. Looks like we've got our applicants as well. So we will start with our first land use item. The Providence City Administrative Land Use Authority will consider for approval a request by Sharice and Trent Christensen for a new home located at 649 East, 525 North in Providence. Diane and Trent and Sharice, before Diane reads the staff report, did you get a copy of the emailed packet that included the staff report, and have you had a chance to look through it?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. All righty. Did you have any questions about it before we start?
No.
Okay. All right. Diane, if you want to take a minute then and just review the staff report for us.
Okay. This application was received February 8th, 2021. Rob Stapley inspected the current infrastructure on February 16th, and Aaron Walker, the fire inspector, reviewed the site, and we have a letter from him dated February 11th. For the findings of fact, we use Utah Code 109A507, which allows municipalities to adopt land use ordinances for conditional uses. We use the Cache County GIS parcel summary that shows sensitive areas. We have Providence City Code 10.5 that requires states to permit places with sensitive areas for conditional uses. Providence City Code 10.3.5 allows the city to impose reasonable conditions to mitigate those hazard areas. Conclusions of law. Providence City has adopted land use ordinances that include conditional uses and provisions for conditional uses. The Cache County GIS parcel summary indicates that this parcel is in a hazard landslide area. Providence City has the authority to impose reasonable conditions to mitigate the landslide area for the proposed use. And the request meets the requirements of the code listed in the findings of fact with the following conditions. The applicant will continue to meet all relevant federal, state, county, and Providence City rules, laws, codes, and ordinances. The applicant submitted a landslide and fire hazard report dated 10/8/18 that was done by Civil Solutions. This conditional use is for the home only as shown on the site plan date stamped February 9th, 2021. Aaron Walker reviewed the parcel for fire hazard because the house is over 3,600 square feet. And approval by the city of any submitted application or paperwork does not alleviate the owners and or their agents from their responsibility to understand and conform to local, state, and federal laws. Providence City's approval is not intended to and cannot be construed to allow any laws to be violated.
Thank you. Rob or Max, do you have any comments you'd like to make on that?
Nothing for me.
Nope.
Okay. In Aaron's review, he marked everything approved, and he also discussed the fire water flow. Said the building appears to be 4,127 square feet in size. There are 2 hydrants within 600 feet of the proposed site. Hydrant 524 is approximately 2,640 gallons per minute at 20 psi. The fire flows in the area have proven to be greater than 1,500 gallons per minute, so the fire flows are adequate for this size of construction. And then on the landslide, when the development was done, the developers did a hazard report, and in their executive summary, They state that on October 8th, they observed the landslide area and associated features. And they examined the site for evidence of prehistoric, historic, and recent landslide events. During the visit, site topography, hydrology, and soil qualities were scrutinized. Field investigations reveal clear evidence of prehistoric landsliding east of the proposed project. However, the current site conditions appeared stable from geologic, hydrologic, vegetative, and soils indicators. The absence of transverse cracks or ridges, talus piles, chaotic land surface texture, shallow groundwater, jackstraw trees, or unstable soils indicate that the parcel slopes have been stable for centuries, if not millennia. Based on this information, as well as other factors discussed in the report, the proposed location for the subdivision is deemed suitable for residential construction. And they also say that given the site's location in a moderate fire hazard zone, is recommended that the home builder incorporate the elements of ignition resistant construction where reasonable and observe the vegetation restrictions along the north and east borders of the subdivision. So does anyone have any questions or comments about that?
Are there any rock retaining walls of any kind being planned?
What was
don't
that?
see- Are there retaining walls planned for your site plan here? The water and sewer services, on just kind of a side note, looks like they're going to be, the water meter barrel is going to be really close. When I went on site a few days ago, the water barrel looked like it was pretty centered on that south side of your lot. Looking at your plot plan, it looks like the water barrel, if it's drawn correctly, will miss all the concrete driveway. As long as that proves out once you lay the site out with your builder, that'll be great. We just want to make sure that that water barrel doesn't end up in the concrete driveway.
Yep,
It's
definitely.
gonna be real close, it looks like.
Max, do you have any comments?
Nope, I don't.
Okay. Ryan, do you have any comments?
I do not.
April, is there anything you want to mention?
No, I'm good.
Okay. One of the things I did, you are on a corner lot. And when we submit plats to the county, they pick an address for there's usually two options on a corner lot for an address. And the county actually picks the other option than what you're using. So Diane, do you want to make a note and call over to the county GIS department and see what we need to do to let them know that the Christiansens are going to use 649, right?
Correct.
Yeah, 649 East, 525 instead of, I think the other one was 530 something. So,
Sarah Street. Mhm.
okay, all right. If there are no other comments on this, I would entertain a motion to approve the request for a conditional use for a new home located at 649 East, 525 North, based on the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and conditions presented during the staff report.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Max Pierce, second by Rob Stapley. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? The voting was unanimous. Thank you, Trent and Sharice. You have a great afternoon. Diane will get the record of decision ready. And then along with that, she'll let you know what your fees and costs are. You can get those paid, and then you can take the information to the county and start down the road with the building permit. One
Thank
thing
you.
that I do want to remind both applicants is please have your survey pins. We go off a boundary, property lines. We don't go off of the sidewalk or anything for our setbacks. So please have your survey pins there so that when the inspector comes to check the placement of your home, they'll be able to find those property lines and make sure that your home is in the right place. We do have quite a few people that pay attention to where homes are put. So just a bit of cautionary advice there. Make sure that you get it right the first time. That being said, we will thank you for your time and move on to our next item, which is a conditional use for a new home requested by Adam Anderson, located at 815 East Canyon Road. So looks like have we got Adam on?
No, Adam's not here.
So who
We
do
have
we have here?
Brandon Broadstone and myself, Matthew Daines, were the acting architecture office for their home.
Okay, all righty. So the information that we are going to talk about, we need you to make sure that the property owners understand the information and that you'll probably design it great for them, but they need to continue with that same, particularly where it's in a wildland fire area. They need to pay close attention to that, their landscaping and things of that nature. So we will put a record of decision together for them to have, but please stress the importance of the conditions to them as you move forward with their project.
Will do.
Did you both receive a copy of the staff report, the packet? Do you have any questions on it?
No.
Okay. Diane, if you want to take a minute and quickly read that in for the record.
Okay. The application was received January 20th, 2021. Rob Stapley did his inspection January 21st, and Aaron Walker, the fire inspector, sent his letter dated February 11th. Findings of fact are all the same as the previous item on the agenda. Conclusions of law are all the same, except that this parcel is in a hazard wildfire area and not a landslide area. The conditions are all the same, except the number 2 is the applicant will mitigate wildfire area by working with Aaron Walker, fire inspector, to meet fire mitigation requirements. And then we have the letter from Aaron dated February 11th. This conditional use is for the home only as shown in the site plan, date stamped January 27th. Approval by the city of any submitted application or paperwork does not alleviate the owners and or their agents from their responsibility to understand and conform to local, state, and federal laws. Providence City's approval is not intended to and cannot be construed to allow any laws to be violated.
Do you have any questions on that?
No.
Okay. Rob or Max, any comments you'd like to make?
I'll let Max go first.
No, when I first seen the site, I thought that property, when it was subdivided, the intent was to have the driveway come off that private road. So I was a little confused when I first started looking at it, but I'm not sure that I'm right on that. Maybe I'm wrong, but that lot was not supposed to front off from that private road. But anyways, that was one question. I don't know if Rob or Scarlett, if you remember when that was subdivided, if that was the case or not, but I thought that lot was intended to come off from the private road.
It was our understanding through the owners that the city wouldn't allow the driveway to come off the private road because their lot isn't part of the, I guess, the accommodated lots for the private road. So it had to come off the main city road.
That's correct. The lot services property, or the private drive services property owned by Stan Checketts. And then it also services Danny McFarland. And so that's our two residents on a private drive, Max. That's why they're coming off the city street instead of the private drive.
Okay.
Anything
Yeah, it's
else,
actually-
Max?
It's actually pretty clear, I think, on the plat that this lot will not be allowed to use that access road. And so when it comes to fire and things like that, I don't know if they plan on putting up a fence that actually keeps and hinders the fire department's ability to attack it from around the back faster and easier and utilize those other hydrants that are back there. I would assume in an emergency, nobody's going to throw a fit about that, but I would keep that in mind when it comes to the landscaping and fencing and stuff like that. That adjacent road, that private driveway, is a good access point, I guess, in an emergency fire scenario where you're in such a higher wildfire area. I'm kind of curious how this didn't end up in the floodplain or something like that sensitive area where the county's map just shows the canal going, the creek going through there. And then you scroll down further and it talks about a sensitive area in a bigger area than what the county map shows. There's no floodplain related to this lot.
It's our understanding that there is a sensitive area that takes away from what would typically be the setback for this lot. So we've stayed out of the marked sensitive areas for the buildable space, which is, I mean, I don't know if there was like an exact kind of like setback from the creek. But there is a substantial kind of offset from the creek that kind of cuts into their setback, but we've stayed out of all of that and within and outside of the sensitive area.
And looking at it, Rob.
That was at least that
Max,
was marked on the map that we had.
right. That this is one lot that does have, and I was going to mention that a little later. I'll just mention it right now. This is one of the lots that has the buildable envelope marked right on the plat. And so your clients need to understand that whatever they build has to stay within that buildable envelope. So if they want to come back and add a pool or a pool house or something, that all has to fit within that buildable envelope and within the setbacks. Sometimes that buildable envelope makes the setbacks more restrictive, but we have to follow that buildable envelope. So just keep that in mind for future, because I looked at it and I noticed that the layout of the house, it fits fine within that envelope, but they need to understand that structures need to fit within that envelope. Also, Max, to answer Rob's question, when you pull up the FEMA maps, I don't think they go up that far. Did FEMA actually, when they came in 2011, did they follow Spring Creek all the way to Providence Canyon? I kind of don't think they did, but my memory might be off.
Yeah, they didn't split it.
Yeah, I thought they did too.
They did, Max?
No, they did not. I don't believe they did. I think they stopped about where the driveway, I forget the name of it, but at Callback's driveway. I think they stopped right in there, if I remember right.
That's what I was kind of thinking, because it doesn't show anything up in fact, it doesn't even show anything up in this southeast area at all. But just because it's not on a FEMA map doesn't mean that they don't need to respect the creek. And because of it, Spring Creek is considered waters of the state. We do have to respect that as a natural water flow, and thus the 30-foot setback that was from the bank. And if the bank moves, then the setback moves with it. That's one of the things we learned in 2011.
And by the
Rob,
way,
any other?
that is shown on the final plat as well, that sensibility for the creek.
Right. Rob, is there anything else you had?
I was just noticing that there's two different diagrams in here related to where their driveway is going to be. Let me zoom back out here for a second. I was looking at the PUE, which we might want to talk about. In that PUE, there's a shared sewer line that's private. That runs down that PUE that we definitely need to just be mindful of. It looks like it's not having anything built on it or over that PUE, so that's good. But on the two different plans, it's showing the driveway further east than on another one. It's one showing it on an angle in order to miss it and be on the east side of the existing phone and utility boxes. And the other one shows the driveway coming out in between the utility boxes and the fire hydrant.
Yeah,
And so
we actually modified that driveway. We were looking at it. We needed to get, after kind of talking to the fire marshal, we needed to get that driveway a little wider because we're going to use it as a fire access road to a certain level. And it wasn't enough width between the utility meter and the fire hydrant. So we had it curve along to the south side, I guess I would say, further down Canyon Road. So the arched driveway is the latest and most
okay.
recent.
The arched version, I think it'll be the better one when it comes to hopefully missing your water meter, but the existing water meter, it shows an arrow pointing to it,
Yeah.
isn't accurate. That water meter is not directly east in line with the other two utilities on each side of the water meter. It's set much further north, and it'll likely be in the asphalt. So we might have to, you'll just need to be mindful of that it might need to be moved to the west to meter barrel itself in order to miss the driveway.
Gotcha.
Does the city have issues if we do need to move the water meter? Is that a problem, or can that be done, or?
That can be done at the homeowner's expense.
Right. Okay.
But just to be very, very clear, just like the staff report said, the site plan that we are going off of is the one with the arched driveway that actually has the date stamp of January 27th, 2021, right?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
The other thing along those lines is I can't read that dimension when I zoom in on it. It looks like, it's guessing it's blurry, but I'm assuming that does meet the ordinance to get those two driveways far enough apart to meet the ordinance. Is that correct? What is
which
the
part?
distance required between driveways? Is it 15 feet?
Correct.
So they got
We have a 31.
31 feet from the existing private drive to the new private drive.
To the edge of it, yes.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna quickly, oops, I went the wrong way. Quickly get to Aaron's letter and review that really quick, since this is in a high wildfire area. Aaron reviewed the access, and he says fire department apparatus access is within 150 feet of all portions of the exterior of the building, measured around the exterior of the building on the latest submittal. And so that's approved. Fire access roads shall be constructed of an asphalt, concrete, or other approved all-weather driving surface, excuse me, capable of supporting the imposed load of a fire apparatus weighing up to 75,000 pounds. Compaction tests will be required, and it says that the homeowners have acknowledged that. And the driveway, or someone's acknowledged that. The driveway will need to be graded and roughed in as to allow for a fire department response prior to combustible materials being delivered to the job site. That's acknowledged. And then the address numbers are required to be in a conspicuous location in the entrance to the driveway. Numbers shall be at least 4 inches in height with 1 inch stroke and on a contrasting background. And then he also says that the fire hydrant location, there are several, hydrants in the area of the proposed home. The hydrant 471, located at the driveway entrance, is within 600 feet of all exterior areas of the proposed home, so that's approved. And he discussed the fire flow. The fire flow calculation includes total floor area of all floor levels within the exterior walls and under the horizontal projections of the roof of the building. The building appears to be approximately 8,524 square feet, which would, the fire flow for a combined fire area of that size are subject to change due to separation of fire area, type of construction, and the installation of fire suppression system. The fire flow required is 2,500 gallons per minute at 20 PSI. Fire hydrant 471, located at the driveway entrance to the building, is within 600 feet of all exterior areas of the proposed structure and contains a water flow of approximately 2571. So at 20 PSI, so that's approved. And then he also talks about the wildland interface, urban interface code, goes through the ignition resistant construction. The roof covering is approved. The unenclosed underfloor protection per plans, all combustible underfloor decks and eaves will be covered with soffits. That's approved. Vents, the plan has 1/8 inch mesh screen will be installed on all openings per the building code, and so that's approved. And then he also reviews the Providence City Code Title 10, Chapter 5 for hazard wildfire area, where property owners are encouraged to, in addition to the roof and the access and the vents, they're also encouraged to inspect their property regularly, clearing dead wood and dense vegetation from at least 30 feet around your house. Break piles of leaves and twigs if on a hill. More space will be needed to protect your home, and a fuel break should be maintained around all structures. And then it also recommends burning firewood away from the home or attachments like fences or decks. Any questions on any of that? The homeowners are aware of all of that. I'm assuming they've seen these letters and understand their responsibilities.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
I'd like to add a little bit of that, I guess, information related to the hydrant testing that we did for this particular lot. Hydrant 471 didn't quite meet the 2,500 gallon requirement until I went I've got a train running. Everybody else can hear the train in the background, right?
yeah,
Okay. I went and retested it, and we barely met the 2,500 minimum. Because we were right there on that borderline of meeting his requirements for fire flows. And so keep that in mind, I guess, when it comes to other accessory structures that you might want or desire to create in the future. It might put you over that, and I don't know how that'll affect some of these stipulations that the fire requirement imposes, because he's literally right there, and you're in kind of a unique area with our water system in that even one PSI seems to make a huge difference to the dynamic flow of the logarithmic numbers that they use for these fire flows. So even one PSI difference can make hundreds of gallons per minute changes within these fire flows. And so that being said, you're just right on that borderline spot of meeting the fire requirements. And so other structures might put it over that.
And
That
that's
helps
based on, it's based on total square footage. Like essentially the square footage is what dictates the fire flow requirements.
Yes, but it's more than just the livable space. Remember, it's everything under the roofs and eaves and within the exterior walls. So it includes the garage, covered decks, that type of thing. So when you're looking at that, make sure that if you expand any of that, make sure you work with Aaron on that, and that's all taken into effect, because it's not just the livable space. That's why a lot of times we'll have people come in their plans, and they'll think they're well under the requirement, and then when Aaron looks at it and looks at all of the space, it'll add a couple of thousand square feet to the home in a heartbeat. So just keep that in mind, and help the homeowners keep that in mind. It doesn't mean that they can't do additional, but if they do, they may have to do some different types of mitigation. They can do interior sprinklers, they can do interior firewalls, things like that. You can work with the fire department on that if they feel like they need to make some of those changes.
Okay, yeah.
Anything else, Rob?
No, that's all.
Okay. Max, anything else?
Did we lose Max?
I can't hear Max, so. Oh. While Max is trying to get back in, Ryan, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
I don't have any additional comments, no.
Okay. April, what about you?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. Max, are you back with us?
Now, I don't know what's going on with my computer, but can you hear me?
Okay. Do you, while we got you, we'll hurry and go through the motion for us, because we need all three of us. If there are no other comments, do you gentlemen have questions, any further questions you'd like to ask before we make our decision?
No.
No.
Okay, all right. That being said, then I would entertain a motion to approve the conditional use request for a new home located at 815 East Canyon Road, based on the findings of facts, the conclusions of law, and the conditions that were in the staff report. Can I get that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you,
I'll
Max.
second it.
Motion by Max Pierce, second by Rob Stapley. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Voting was unanimous. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank your clients for moving to Providence, and just make sure you relay all this information to them. Just like I told our first applicants, Diane will get the record of decision ready, and then she'll let you know, and someone can come in and make the fee payment, and then we can get that information off to the county so that you can move forward with the building permit. And like was previously said, word of caution, make sure that you have your property lines marked so that the inspectors can verify where your setbacks are. Particularly important in this case where you've got those sensitive areas and you've got to stay within that building envelope, and just keep in mind working with Aaron if you make any changes, working with Aaron and Rob to make sure that we are all prepared for whatever that house might need.
Okay.
Will do.
That being said, if no one has any, oh, that's all the business that is on our agenda. If there is anyone that has something that they want put on a future agenda, I would take that request. Hearing none, I want to take a minute and thank everybody for attending the meeting. And Max, hope you get your first time he's had that kind of trouble. So hopefully he gets that fixed out. And have a very good afternoon. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Ryan, for
much.
hosting.